Hey listen, if your real estate career needs a good solid kick in the ass, you definitely want to stay tuned for this video. I had the pleasure, the privilege of sitting down with Mr. Mitch Stein. Now, Mr. Mitch Stein has an incredible story. He went through our program here at California Realty Training. He closed 12 deals within a 5-month span soon after he got that license. He became an incredible manager, leader at KW Upland, also known as College Park. He has an incredible story, inspirational story to share with you. You don't want to miss this one. So hey, listen, take a watch. Let me know what you think of it. You're gonna enjoy it. Take care.
You know, for me, what I was doing before real estate was I was buying and selling failing businesses. So I would go on Craigslist, I would see a business that was for sale, I would buy it, turn it around and sell it. And the issue was one day I was doing my taxes and I was like, what's that number? And the woman said to me, well, that's what you paid your real estate agent. And by the end of that meeting, I had Googled how hard is it to be a real estate agent. And I was like, I'm gonna get my license. Originally, what I did was I just signed up for the cheapest school I could find online, right? Just do it yourself, $200, whatever school.
Before we go there, hold on, before we go there though, Mitch, what motivated you to get your license? So why did you want to get your license?
Well, that's because I wanted to be my own agent. I was like, I'm not gonna pay someone to buy and sell these homes.
So was the money.
Right. It was like I can broker myself. I can do this. Like whatever this fool's doing, I can do. And I'm the one finding the deal. Right? So went online, and you know, you have a year to finish those online classes, and then the year was up. Right? I never did anything with it. I never, you know, I got too busy. I didn't do it. And so I was having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, whatever happened with that? And I was like, you know, I'm in my 40s. I was like, I might just be too old for a new career. You know, maybe that was just a pipe dream. And he said something to me that I say now to all my coaching people. And he goes, you're not too old, you're not too tall, you're not too hairy, you're not too gay, you're not too anything. Because there's millions of people in this world that look like you. Find your tribe and work with your tribe. And I was like, all right, I'm not too old, right? So I called that school back up and I was like, you know, I paid and I never did it. And they're like, well, you got to pay again if you want to do it. And I was like, well, that's stupid. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, right? So I went to a couple different places that offered schools and stuff like that, but they all seemed very kind of flighty. You'd show up and they'd be like, here's our school, sign up. And it very much felt like you could kind of see where this was headed, right? It was like, you go to our school and we're gonna train you, but then you have to hang your license here.
I can't believe that.
And
was that true story?
True story.
So if you want to go to their school, they get to educate you, train you, but you have to commit to them from off the bat.
Well, and not only do you have to commit to them, but I'm like, okay, can I meet the broker? No.
Wow. And
I'm like, you're asking me to take a job with someone, and also if I'm going to do this, I have to pay to go to this school. Okay. And I was just like, so I kept looking around because I knew I wanted to go in person. For me, that was important because I knew if it was online, I wasn't going to do it. I needed a schedule and I needed accountability, right? And so I was looking around, and I don't know how I clicked on your website, but I clicked on the website for your school, and it said free class. And I'm all about like free class. I was like, all right, I'll go to this free class. And it was kind of far from my house, but I was like, that's fine. It's in person, right? And you could either go 2 days a week, Tuesday or Thursday, or you could go to the Saturday one. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to do the Saturday because I just know my schedule, right? I own restaurants at the time. I own a couple restaurants. And so I was like, it'll be easier for me to go on Saturdays. So I went to the free class, and Victor Hugo was my teacher, my professor. And there was just something about the way he presented that I was like, all right, I'm going to pay for this.
Well, let's pinpoint it. What do you think it was that he had?
It was more than just how to pass the test.
All right.
Like for Victor, when he taught his class, it was a lot about, in the course, was a lot about just being a real estate agent, right? And I had already signed on, I already paid, and I was already involved, but it was the second class where he said to me, in the class in general, he said, you're a real estate agent now. You need to start thinking that you're a real estate agent now. And he said a couple of things in that class that
that's pretty neat.
Changed my life. And that was, he said, you need to come from service. You need to concentrate on education. You need to come from service. And if you do that, the money will come, right? So I said, all right, I'm a real estate agent, right? And even though I don't have my license, I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to talk about real estate, right? So September 4th, I took my first class.
Hold on, Mitch. Mm-hmm. Why did him saying that affect you so much? It seemed like it got you a little emotional.
You meet people in your life that say something to you, and it triggers, right? It's impactful. And, you grow up. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but you've been in industries or you've had jobs where you just don't feel good about going to work.
Right.
You just don't feel like, you're like, people ask you what you do for a living and you hide it. Right. You change the subject, right? And so for someone to say to you that you can build a life that you want from service, that's powerful.
And to you, of course, he meant it. He was genuinely telling you.
He was telling me, right? And he also took me to the side and he said, because he asked everybody why they wanted to be an agent, and I told my story about buying and selling businesses, and he was like, he took me to the side during the break and he goes, you got to do residential. She's like, you were born for residential. You got to do residential. You can do commercial later in life. He knew how hard commercial was. And he also knew that a life of commercial wasn't a life of service, right?
Right.
He didn't say that much, but he just said, you should cut your teeth in residential. At least think about it, right? I was like, okay. So from that day, I just started talking to people, right? Started talking to my neighbor. The house next door to me was a rental, and it was not well kept. So I started talking to that guy, started talking to neighbors. I would check into the school every week. I'm going to real estate school, selfies, stuff like that. And I just said to myself after the first month that this is gonna be my career, right? I just committed. I said to myself, I'm gonna commit. I went to my managers of my restaurant and I said, listen, you're gonna need to take on my responsibility. I'm not gonna be here because I'm gonna do real estate. But when I make it, I'm gonna take you with me.
Nice.
So they were like, yeah. Right? So I was like, okay, here we go. And I just kept having conversations. And one of the things in the real estate school that I had learned was, you got to build your pipeline. You got to have your database, right? So I just started building a database. And I had a very set goals in mind, right?
Now, all these goals and this database that you're creating, though,
is while I'm going to school.
While you're going to school.
While I'm going to school.
Great.
So
I just want to make sure we got that clear.
Because one of the things that we talked about in the school that was like made sense to me is that you're not going to get your license and turn to someone and say, do you want to buy or sell your house and sell a house next week? There's a lead time, right? So I'm like, I got to get in front of that lead time.
Nice.
I start having those conversations now.
I love this.
And so for me, it was like, hoping no one wanted to sell their house till I had my license, but I started just having conversations about real estate school.
Got it.
And so the way the school's set up, I don't need to tell you, you do the 3 weeks and the week off, you study and you take your tests. So I did it. So that Saturday, I would go somewhere outside of my house for those 4 hours, and I would be like, this is where I'm doing this, right? 4 hours a week, I'm in this classroom, and then so I always had that Saturday, right? On a side note, to this day, those are my call hours.
Really?
3 years later, those are still my call hours.
Let me guess, Saturdays 10 to 2?
10 to 2.
Got it.
That's my time blocking, right? And so I went through the 3 months, passed all 3, literally had already set up an appointment with the broker at the office I was at because Victor was the broker. So I was like, I'm going to sign here. This guy taught me how to do real estate. I'm going to sign here. So I met up with the team lead there, had them sign my application literally the day I got my third certificate, and I mailed it off and just started studying for the test. And still talking to people, right? So September 4th, first class, 3 months later, now we're at the end of November, turn in my application. I get the test date in the mail, and what I did was I found a crash course, and I took the crash course 2 days before the test. The test was on a Monday, February 4th. I passed.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, you passed. Let's not go there yet.
Okay.
I want to still go pre-licensing era.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were prepping your career, man. You were cold calling. No, you weren't cold calling. What were you doing? What were you doing to prep for post-licensing?
Well, I realized right away that like the people that were going to try, I had these limiting beliefs that strangers weren't going to buy or sell houses from me until I had some experience.
Okay.
So I was like, the best way I'm going to pull at these heartstrings of people that know and like me.
Nice.
Right? So I've got a bunch of friends on Facebook. I've got a bunch of friends here or there. So what I said to myself was, I go, listen, I'm going to build a database. So I just open up an Excel spreadsheet and I just would go through my Facebook and say, hey, I don't have your email address. I'm going to send out Christmas cards this year. Can I get your email address and your address? And I just started filling out the database, right? So by the time I got my license, I had about 1,000 people in a database. So I immediately could send out a mass email or a mass text saying, hey, I got my license. Let's do some business, right? And so I just knew that I had that plan, right? From the day I decided this was what I was going to do after that first class, I just made sure that from that point, this was a business. And I think too many times I see people, it's a hobby. Or they're like, I'll do that after I get my license, or I'll do that after this, or I'll do that. And they think that things have to be done in a step, when in reality they can be done concurrently, right? Because I had a business and background, I knew this, right? That the day you launch a restaurant, that's it. You either have it down, your menu is down, your business plan is down, and it takes years sometimes, right? And so I knew that if you're gonna be in real estate and you're gonna be in a business, then you gotta treat it like that. And so that's what I was doing from the very beginning, was just sort of prepping that so that the day I had my license, because I knew if I didn't sell right away, I would lose interest, because I like money. And if I wasn't making money very quickly, it just wasn't, for me, I just knew that I had a goal, right?
But that's some great actionable advice that people can take, that you created a database before you got your license. You were prepping your way to success, in a sense.
You don't know. It's weird because like I'll talk to agents that have been in the industry 10, 15 years and I'm like, where's your database? And they're like,
what the hell is a database?
You know, I'm on Facebook. I'm like, what? You don't have a database? Mine's on an Excel spreadsheet. I keep my database printed in my car. It's an Excel spreadsheet that I keep printed in my car, because sometimes technology just doesn't work out for me. Right. But I can tell you where my database is at all times, right? I have one for real estate. I have one for my restaurant. My restaurant, I have 15,000 people in my database.
Holy moly.
Do you think I survived coronavirus? Yes, because I had a database of people that already knew me, that already were willing to work with me. I didn't go out and start placing ads. I knew 1,000 people. When I really sat down with my database and I really started looking at who do I know on Facebook, who does that person know? And when I say that real estate's changed my life, one of the things that made me realize is I may have your phone number in my phone, but I don't have your wife's. Right? I'm saying, let's go have dinner on Friday. I'm always asking you. I'm forgetting that I'm also friends with your wife, right? So part of building that database was becoming a better friend, right? that I called my mom and we sat down and we went through and I'm like, what's Aunt Sheila's address? Well, Aunt Sheila had that friend I met at that party. What's her phone number? What's her address? Right? And just by doing those activities, I was able to build a pretty solid database. I didn't know it at the time, but what's the number one reason someone hires a real estate agent?
I don't know, you tell me.
They know you.
Got it.
20%.
Your sphere of influence.
20%.
Got it.
And what's the second reason?
What's that?
They trust you.
Nice.
That's 40%. So if you know the person and they trust you, you're 40% of the way.
You're almost halfway there. Got it.
Right? So I just knew that that's where I needed to focus.
Now, as a reminder to those who are watching this, all this happened
in 5 months.
Well, before you got your license.
Correct.
You're still prepping yourself so that the minute you get your license, bam, you're off and running.
Yep.
All right, let's do this. So now you're at the test date.
I'm at the test date.
Talk to me.
Well, I wanted to hold myself accountable. So I had told everyone on social media that I was going to wait to open my results live on Facebook Live. I was like...
I didn't know that.
So,
whether you pass or fail, you were going to do it live.
Yeah, I was going to do it live, right? And so the anticipation was building up. Mitch is going to open. I said, I'm going to open my test results at this time, this date, sign on to Facebook Live and watch me cry if I fail, right? And I had it so planned out that, where I went to take the test in LA, there was very specific things about parking and stuff like that. So I had a friend drive me. So I didn't even have to worry. And, I went in and I took the test and they give you your results right there.
Well, hold on, let's build a suspense. So while you're taking the exam, how are you feeling? Were you feeling confident?
Yeah, I was feeling good.
Yeah?
I was feeling good. But here's the thing. You can never the questions change all the time, right? There was a question on there that I was like, we never talked about this. But if you go in, here's the thing. If you go in believing that you are going to fail, you're going to fail.
Mindset. All right.
Right? That's just, if you go into something saying, I don't know, I'm going to fail, I think one of the things for me was I'm very competitive, and I looked around the line, and the woman that showed up eating a burrito, she wasn't in the right mindset. This is my competition. I'm good, right? So I just went in and committed to passing this test the first time.
And you had already studied.
Of course, you got to study.
You were prepared.
You got to study.
It's not just mindset. You got to go in prepared.
You got to go in prepared.
Got it.
But you also have to go in and believe. And this again, the training of the school. You take those lessons into real estate. If you go into a listing appointment with any doubt, you're not getting that listing.
I agree 100%.
But when I go into a listing appointment, I use we statements the first time I meet those people.
That's good.
We're friends.
Right.
I just met you, but we're friends.
Right.
We are going to sell your house. We are going to find you a new place. We are a team. We are going to do this together. Right? And if you do that, if you go into the situation with confidence and with determination, it's not only are you going to get the deal, it's sexy. It's just one of those things that...
Let's take you back to the test site.
Yes, sir.
Let's focus. So we're back at the test site. You're prepared. Your mindset's there. They give you your envelope. Take it from there.
So, you hear the people going down the elevator that opened it. You're not supposed to open it. They tell you, don't open it until you're outside. And you can hear the elevator. You can hear people screaming. You can hear the people screaming. You can hear the people crying. You walk into the lobby. There's people with tears. And I'm walking past all those people. My friend's waiting for me. He's got the big gulp because I like Diet Coke. And he's got the king size Reese's Pieces cups because if I'm depressed, I need that. And I sit down and I put my phone on the dashboard and he goes, it's time. You promised everyone you were going to open it. So I go to Facebook Live, and what I do is I open it as quickly as possible so not enough people were on it. Because I'm like, if I fail, maybe I can delete it. And there it was, man. You passed.
You passed.
You passed.
Actually, it says congratulations.
It says congratulations. And the cool thing is if you've aligned yourself with a broker when you turn in your application, you got a license.
Right.
It's right there.
Right.
There's your license.
Right.
Like, boom.
How'd you feel in the moment?
I was like, I turned to my friend, I said, let's go sign up. And I drove straight from there to the nearest Keller Williams office, and I signed up.
That must have been a hell of an accomplishment. What'd your father think about it? He's the one that told you, go do this.
You know, relationships with your parents are complicated sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that one of the things that was really cool is that, like, for him, my parents were really young. You know, the greatest gift, I tell people all the time, the greatest gift my parents gave me was the gift of poverty. My parents were 15 and 16 when I was born.
Wow.
You know, they were brave enough to keep the baby. They were brave enough to tough it out. My grandparents were like, oh, you want to play house? They converted the garage into a studio apartment and made them, they converted the garage into a studio apartment and made them get married. And they lived in the garage until they graduated high school, right? So it was rough. So my dad has had a rough life, right? I don't think that he cares that I share because he's pretty honest about it. You know, he's been in and out of jail a couple times, but, you know, he's proof to me that it's never too late.
Right.
Right? You know, at 45, he got sober, and at 45, he turned his life around.
And here you were at your 40s thinking you can't do real estate, and he's the one that pushed you.
Right.
He's the one that said, son, let's get this thing going. How do you feel when you told him?
Yeah, he's proud, you know. And that's when you know, that's when you know, and I have these big, I come to my family and I'm like, I'm gonna own a market center. They're like, get your license first. Well, don't worry about it.
Let's explain to the viewers what a market center is. A market center is your own brokerage.
Right.
Got it. Okay, good.
You know, and so, but they've always kind of been like, my mom's the same way. They're not married to, my mom's the same way. My dad's always like, yeah, my biggest, like, you can be crazy, whatever. And then you've got your mom who's, she keeps me grounded. Like, don't forget your children, pay attention to your family, spend more time. Right. She pulls me back. So it's a good balance, right? It's a good balance. But, they were both happy. I know at first my mom was like, another career? Like, you got the restaurant. When are you going to have time to do this? When are you going to have time to do that? And I'm like, I'll do it. Don't worry. Right? So, they were happy. And I think too, like, the thing is with parents, they just want their kids to be happy, right? At the end of the day, you've got kids, you just want them to be happy. Sure. You don't really care if they're brown or they're gray or there's purple. You just want them to be happy. And like I said, for my mom, she just wants to make sure that it's not always business. She's the one that's always like pulls you back and is just like, remember to have fun, remember to do, So I've got that wing and that wang kind of in my life naturally. I'm very lucky.
It sounds like you got great support, that's for sure.
It's a two-way street, right? Like if you get out of a relationship what you put into it.
All right.
So, I drove over and signed up and was like, I'm going to sell a house in the first week. That was my goal.
Your goal was to sell one house in the first week. Both you and I know that to sell a house in the first week of getting your license, not only is it difficult, it's almost next to impossible. It takes time, but you were prepped.
I was prepped.
You were prepped.
I had a 5-month head start.
That's right, which is extremely smart. It's just, this is crazy because I've never heard anybody do this before, which is nice. How'd you do it?
Well,
what did you do?
All those people I had been talking to that said, oh, my mom's thinking about selling her condo. I just kept notes, right? Just kept notes. In that database, I just kept notes, right?
So you had hot leads, warm leads, and cold leads.
Yep. And I, that neighbor with that rental, I went up to him and I said, you got to sell this house, dude. I can't live next to this. And he gave me my first listing.
He gave you a shot.
He gave me a shot. And it was somebody I knew, right? Somebody I knew well. He didn't live there. It was a rental. But he knew me. He knew I was a new agent. He knew. Everyone knew. But he gave me a shot.
Why do you think he gave you a shot as a new agent? This is important because a lot of viewers out there think, I'm new. What do I got to offer? I don't know anything yet.
I think it was the fact that this was a teaching moment for me too, was that you don't have to spread yourself thin. Who's the expert of that neighborhood?
You are, because you live there.
20 years.
That's right.
Been your neighbor 20 years.
That's right.
Who's the expert? I don't need to be in real estate. And when people ask me, how many deals have you done? Well, I've bought and sold 4 houses. That's how many houses I've owned in my life.
Right.
I've done a real estate transaction. I just was on the other end.
Right.
So he knew I owned a business. He knew I was smart. He trusted me, right? But more important than that, I went in there and said, nobody knows this neighborhood, this block, this street better than me.
I highly believe in that. I think the first place people should look for business in real estate should be their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know where the nearest pizza joint is. You know where the nearest school is. You know where the nearest everything is. You're a master at that area. That's exactly what you did, which confirms that I'm right.
Well, that's why I'm here.
That's good. So how'd you feel? You got your first listing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, of course. I was like, I am the world's greatest real estate agent, right? And, you get your first listing, and here's the thing. It was foreshadowing, right? Is that, and this my first listing, by the way, right? So I live in a historical district. So the outside of the house is impressive. It's a craftsman, right? And I know a lot about craftsmen because I own one. So we got that. But it was a rental. They had stole the sinks and the toilet.
What the heck?
There was no sinks, no toilets. So this is your first listing. Good luck, buddy. Yeah. Right? But I was like, yeah, okay. So I was like, we're going to do this, right? So I only posted pictures of the outside.
Fair.
It was empty.
Right.
So if you want to see it, come see it.
Right.
Right? And I put it up on the market, and I told them, I said, we got to put it at a price that people are gonna be interested at, right?
What was the price? Just curious.
So it was $399. And if that house had been fixed up, it would, in that neighborhood, it probably would have gone for $5. But no toilets, no sinks, right? So I put one picture on the outside, and the living room had like the fancy raincoat stuff. So there was one picture, and I had a couple pictures of the yard, but I didn't put them on the MLS because you only have to put one picture on the MLS, and that was the outside of the house. I knew that was the shot. And put it up on the MLS, and that was tough because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we're gonna try it, right? And get it up on the MLS, and then no sign. So I got to run out and find a printer really quick. So I literally took a selfie of me in a Star Wars t-shirt outside my house, and that's the picture on my sign, still to this day.
Really?
You don't need to be in a suit.
Let's see if we can find that and put it up. Let's go to scripts. Mitch's script. The one you just said just now. Who do you know that I can help? How powerful that is. You didn't say, how can I help you sell or buy a house? You said, who do you know? How important is that? See,
I think it's very important, right? And here's the thing in business, in especially in real estate, right? Is people are afraid to ask for what they want, right? Why are we having this interview? Because you asked what you wanted.
Right.
And I think sometimes people, these limiting beliefs that they're not good enough to ask for what they want. Gary Keller talks about, I'm wearing his shirt, right? Think like a CEO. If you want this better life, if you want to sell, well, then you got to find out. And we skipped over a little bit, but I took that agent to lunch and I asked him, I spent time, I invested. I'm not just investing in relationships in my clients, but also in my coworkers. This is a community. You don't treat another agent like crap, because they're going to have a listing. They're going to have a listing. And whose phone are they going to pick up? Yours or mine? Mine. Right. Better agent than you are.
I feel like, and I honestly feel like I'm talking to myself about 20 years ago. Every single thing you're saying and feeling, the passion, the desire to help others, the service, that was me 20 years ago when I first started. All I want to do was help somebody.
So you're on the video, right? I just took your class not 3 years ago. It's coming back to me. You're on the video. And you told a story about a family member needing something and how impactful it was that you were able to just go to the ATM, get the money, and just and just fix that problem. My mom was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and she doesn't want to leave the house. COVID, all this other bullshit, she doesn't want to leave the house. I've gotten to a place in my life where I just went and bought an RV, and I said, whenever you want to go, let's go. Now you don't have an excuse. You're never too far from a bathroom. You can relax, you can lay down, we can go. Right. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have had the freedom to do that if I had a 9-to-5. But more importantly, financially, it wasn't a big deal. Because to me, it was sell another 5 houses. Right? Kid needs to go to college, sell another 4 houses.
But it's nice to know that you now have the ability to make somebody's day better.
Yeah.
Because of real estate.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know, we do a food drive through our office. We do a food drive, but we take it a next step, right? So we collect the food, and that gets people kind of interested in the process. But what I do is I reach out to principals and therapists. And I said, who isn't asking for help? Who needs it but doesn't know how to ask for it, right? It goes back to you got to ask for it. And I don't know what happened in these people's lives, but I was told by this one therapist's office, I said, well, this woman, she's got 4 kids. We service them for free, and the dad is in prison. That's all we can tell you. This is traumatic for this family.
Sure.
I said, okay. So we show up with a pile of groceries, knock on the door, pile of groceries, and mom's like, you know, who are you? Where are you from? And I'm like, just a guy in the neighborhood. And I take mom outside and I go, tell me what each one of these kids wants, right? And she says, well, you know, this or that, blah, 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 blah. And then I find out they don't have a car either, right? So we show up a week later, and I was able to, just through connections, I didn't even have to pay for this. I was able to show up the next day. I had 5 bikes and presents.
Sweet.
Right? That's the life that we can live. Will that result in a transaction? I don't know. But I feel really good about my life. I go to work every day and I'm happy. I'm grateful. And so that's what real estate's done for me, right? Is that I've this life of service, this ability to help people. And you've done deals where you don't make no money because you're helping someone.
Right.
You give your commission to the first-time home buyer. You get the lender to help the VA loan go through.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You make it up on the next deal.
Right.
But you feel good about yourself.
Sure. That's why you love your job. That's why you love your job. If you consider it a job, they say if you love what you're doing, you're not going to work.
Yeah, no. That's for me, real estate is just, especially over at Keller Williams, right? They just there's just things they say to you that just make sense. And if you can simplify the message. I think sometimes the message gets convoluted, right? With technology and stuff like that. Like, I just had a spreadsheet and a cell phone. I didn't need that. I have it now. My database is 6,000 people. But I have a team of 12 now, right? But when you're starting out, right?
Well, hold on. You just mentioned you got a team of 12. Let's get there.
Okay.
So you closed 12 deals in 5 months.
I did.
And then
I went on vacation.
You went on vacation.
I was like, easy peasy, right?
All this is happening within maybe 8 months of you
starting real estate. I haven't even been in it, right. I haven't even started, right.
You're still technically a rookie. I mean, you're just fresh off of the whatever. I mean, you're just new still.
Yep. So I'm like, I'm going to go on this vacation. and I'm going to spend some money. I'm going to go on that vacation, right? So I close every deal. I get everything closed. I've got nothing kind of going on, so I can go on vacation and I can concentrate on just relaxing.
Where'd you go?
I went to Provincetown, which is off of it's like an island off of Boston. It's an isthmus, but it might as well be an island, and it's, you know, it's where the celebrities hang out. Like I got to meet Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper, and you know, and it's a little hippie place where you just walk around with sandals. And I was like, I'm a baller now, right? And I get back, and you know, I realized I didn't have a pipeline anymore. I had stopped cold calling. I had stopped doing what I was doing.
What's a pipeline?
You know, a pipeline is I talk to you today, you're not going to buy or sell a house for 6 to 9 months, right? Well, I had done that so well through real estate school that when I got my license, the pipeline it's a funnel. Sales are a funnel, right? You fill the funnel, something's going to start to drip out. You got to keep filling it. Some of us have a really little nozzle, some of us have a big nozzle, but the bigger the catch basin, eventually something's going to come out.
Your funnel was empty.
My funnel was empty.
Oh, shoot.
And I didn't sell another house for 5 months.
Right.
Because that was the lead time, right?
Right.
I started from scratch. Because I started to take real estate for granted. I started to treat it. I didn't nurture it, right? And there's 3 rules to a database, right? So I built a database, but you got to nurture and grow it. And the woman across the street sold her house with someone else.
Oh, one of the worst feelings ever, you know, in the real estate world when you have your license.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person I don't like to fail. And I even at one point was like, I'm done with real estate, right? I'll do something else. And it was interesting because someone in my office came up to me that I didn't think liked me very well, and said, you should take Bold, which is a class at Keller Williams. It's a mindset class. And I was like, oh, it's $800. I'm doing fine. I don't need it. And she's like, you should take Bold. And so I took it because they said if you sell 3 houses, they'll pay you back. So I'm like, okay, I'll get it back, right? I didn't want to spend any money. And I took Bold. And what I realized in Bold, that even though I'd had this success, I still wasn't treating real estate as a business. I wasn't taking it serious. I wasn't holding myself accountable, right? You know, charisma, who you know, only gets you so far, right? And so what I did was I went to my broker and I was like, how much for that office in the corner? Remember, I don't like to spend money. She's like, $400 a month. And I was like, oh, right? But I was like, all right, I'll get the office. And I got a folding table and I kind of put it in the middle, and I would show up and I'd just sort of sit there and be like, then I got a laptop, you know, and I started to treat real estate again as a business.
As your own business.
Right? But I always in the back of my mind was like, I want to be able to go on vacation, and I don't want to have to do my cold calls while I'm on vacation, right? And I was looking at these guys that were successful, and I saw that they had a team, right? And so I was like, trying to form a team. I was like, how do I form a team?
Let's talk about that. What is a team?
So a team in real estate, what a team is basically that, like, you know what, Robert, you and I, we're gonna be partners, right? You can structure the deal however you want, but say I have a lot of buyers and you have no buyers, right? So if I formed a team, the person on the top is usually called a rainmaker, right? So I'm really good at networking, and I'm really good at meeting a lot of people, and I'm really good at getting a lot of leads. I'm not very good at follow-up, obviously. The woman across the street sold the house from somebody else.
You had an empty funnel.
And I let my funnel go empty. Right. So what I realized is I had to leverage. And in Bold, they teach you that the secret to real estate are the 3 L's, right? Listing, leads, and leverage. I have leads, got plenty of them, right? Database grew from 1,000 to 2,000 just by asking for referrals. But I didn't have leverage, and listings I was lucky. Listings were luck, right? So I said, all right, how do I get more listings? And I was like, I need to know people who know a lot of people. So I went to a Weight Watchers meeting, and I saw someone talking who was very, very, very impressive. And her partner is a Weight Watchers leader too. So I took him out to lunch, and I said, how much do the two of you guys make? You guys, how many people do you guys talk to a week? And they said, combined, we talk to 3,000 people a week.
Whoa.
And I was like, whoa. I go, how much do you make? And they said the number. And I was like, oh, each? And they said, no, together. $60,000 combined.
What?
And I was like, how would you like to be in real estate? And they were like, why? I'm like, I think you can make a lot of money. So I got them into real estate school. But I'm like, I don't know how to run a team. But I want them to be on my first team members when they get out of real estate school. So I joined a team.
Got it.
Right? And got to do it big. I went online. I was like, what's the biggest team at Keller Williams? And it was United Home Group. It's ran by Cody Gibson. I don't know if you know him or not. He's a big guy. And joined the largest expansion team in Keller Williams. They have 250 agents. They're in multiple states. And I was like, here I am, right? So I joined that team, and I'm like, I'm going to learn how to do a team. The whole time, checking in with these people. How's real estate school going? How's real estate school going? How's real estate school going? It's going good. It's going good. It's going good. Okay. And then starting to talk to other people, right? So after being 6 months on this team, I learned a lot from Cody. And here's the thing that you got to learn. You got to pay your dues, right? You got to pay your dues. So I'm working for someone else. I don't need to. I'm rookie of the year. But if I want to learn, education isn't free.
Right. You got to rub elbows with these people.
You got it, right?
I got it.
So you pay the tax. And I think that's one of the biggest downfalls I see with new agents is that they come out of the gate and they want to be a mega agent on day one, and it's like, good luck. Right. You know, so my advice is, at this point is always join a team. Like start with a team, because then you have a mentor, you have somebody who's watching out for you, you have someone feeding you leads, making sure the deal. You know, on my team, I sign every contract. You better believe that I read each one I sign. So when a new agent puts something in a contract that isn't good, right, I catch it, right? Mistakes don't happen.
So you created your team.
I created a team. And so when they got their license, I brought them in and I just taught them the process, right? I was like, 3,000 people. Just start telling people, don't be a secret agent. I tell people all the time in coaching, don't be a secret agent. How many people know you're a real estate agent? And they say, oh, everyone on my phone. I go, and I hit a button and I call. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, hold on. I'm like, hey, Joe, this is Mitch. I work with Robert. Oh, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay there? Yeah. Did you know Robert was a real estate agent? No, I didn't. What's this call about? Okay, no, thanks, Rob. Click. Joe didn't know you were an agent, Robert. They just assumed because they put a post on Facebook that everybody knew, right? And I always have to remind people, I'm like, they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about your career.
So you were coaching these people on your team. Part of it is coaching them.
You got to coach them. Yeah. But now I have listings because they know a lot of people. Right? So I'm willing to teach you how to be a successful agent because you don't understand the power. So the one agent, she's been an agent since October. It's not been a year, right? She's tripled her income.
Jeez.
She's willing to receive the message, right? So when Victor stood up and said to me, build a business from service, there were a lot of people in there that didn't buy that message.
Let's stop there for a sec. This is interesting to me, and I think it's important for people to know. Why do some people not accept the message? I think that's crucial what you just said. How about this? Let's start off with this question. From a 1 to 10, how possible is it for somebody to really change their life with a real estate career?
10. Possible? 10. Anyone. Anyone can do it. Anyone.
Good. What is the probability from 1 to 10 of somebody having a great, nice real estate career that changes their life?
0.5.
Okay. If they accept the message, does that probability go up?
Of course.
Why won't people take the message?
They think there's a shortcut. They think there's a shortcut.
When if they would take the message.
Right. Build the database.
Right.
Build the database.
Pay their dues. Like
Pay your dues. Don't come in. You know, so many times I sit there and people tell me, oh, I get this $295 per transaction, you know. I'm like, yeah. How often do you get to talk to your broker? How much training do you get? How much education are you getting?
Right.
How much actual real estate? I tell people all the time, I'm like, you're a referral agent.
Right.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're going to do 2 or 3 deals, and you would make more money and less headache if you just took that deal and came over to my office and said, give me 35%.
Right.
And let me do all the work. Because this is what I tell people all the time. That first listing I had, it didn't close for 4 months because I didn't run a background, and there was a lien for $1 million on a $400,000 house.
Oh.
Right? So for 4 months, does that agent on the other side remember who the hell I am? Do you think he wants to do business with me? You know, last month I sent him a gift basket apologizing for how crappy that transaction was because I'm trying to recruit him to come work for me. But the issue is that, and I say this all the time, I'm like, whatever the first deal is you do, the agent on the other side remembers you because they hate you. Because you're going to make mistakes, right? So why relearn the will, right? The will's there, right? And I think people just think there's this shortcut. They just think that there's this shortcut. And, you know, this fear of like the internet taking over, you know, this fear of Zillow or this fear of, and whenever someone tries to get me to go down that fear, I remember what my dad said. Zillow's not you. You're not my competition because your sphere of influence is your sphere of influence and my sphere of influence is my sphere of influence. The reason that Zillow can take your client is because you weren't coming from service. Right. You get what you pay for. Right?
I'm digging it.
And so when people say, who's my competition? I say me.
Right.
When I don't go to the office, I'm not successful. But when I go to the office and I show up and I come from service.
Done. You know, I get that question all the time. Probably the number one question I get when I'm teaching is, what about competition? Should I be afraid of competition? And I tell them the truth. Exactly what you just said. It's a competition. I laugh at competition because each and every one of you here in this classroom has your own sphere of influence. You got to work it, man. Because if you don't work it, the guy next to you is going to work it. Take care of your sphere.
Oh, it's my favorite script.
Yeah. That's not even the script for me. It comes straight from the heart.
Know?
It means
and don't be greedy. The other thing is don't be greedy.
Yeah.
Right? When I walk into someone's kitchen, especially we have a lot of people right now, we have a lot of baby boomers, right? There's a lot of listings a lot of the listings that you see, a lot of the inventory you see are people that have been living in houses 30, 40 years, right? That's the majority of the listings, at least in my market, right? They're starting to downsize, the right size we call it, right? You come in and they say to you, well, my niece, Sally, has her real estate license. And we really want to give it to our niece, Sally. And I'm on my phone and I'm like, yeah, I see she got her license a couple months ago and she's not done any transactions. We're going to list our $1.2 million house with your niece, right? I get the listing every time. And this is how I do it. I'm going to give your niece 25%, but I'm going to be the lead agent.
Sweet.
Done. Let's go.
Sweet.
I get it every time.
I like
because I'm working with her.
Right.
Right? Because a new agent, and this was the mistake that people made with me. You're just a new agent. You're just a new agent. Right?
Right.
I left Keller Williams. I left. I built a team and I left. Why? I wasn't getting the love. I'm back. Why am I back?
Let's go there. Why are you back? What are you doing with Keller Williams now?
Well, now I run one of their market centers.
Let's clear that up so those who are watching us understand what that means. You're now managing one of their brokerages.
Correct.
So you went, and this is all happening within 3 years. Well,
two and a half.
Less than two and a half years. You went from getting your license. It was 12 transactions in 5 months.
Correct.
Created a team.
Correct.
And now you're managing team leader at Keller Williams. Where's it at?
It's in Upland.
How's that going, and how's that whole experience been?
Amazing,
yeah.
Right? Because if you have the right message and you come from service, people are going to follow you, right? People are going to follow you, and and it's one of those moments, and you, every once in a while in your career you have this like cool moment, and when I showed up day one, my operating principal, which would be like the CEO of our office. So if you look at it in a business transaction, every office has a CEO, which is an OP, and then you have a COO, which is the team lead. So you've got the OP that kind of has the vision for the office, but then you have a team lead that actually executes it. So I'm the team lead, the COO. And he comes to me and he says, we need a real estate school. And I'm like, well, I know just the one. And it was one of those moments where, I didn't know it at the time. It's dated. I didn't know this was going to happen later in life. Right. But I go to your website and it's my review on the front page. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Yeah. And when I met with the staff and we had the meeting, I was like, I'm Mitch S. And my review is right there. A picture of me and my baby, which is funny because the baby's now 9. But a picture of me and the baby. Yeah. And I was like, what a cool moment, right? Like every once in a while too, you got to stop and just be like, this is cool, Robert. Right. Like where you came from and where you are, this is cool. It's like amazing. Every once in a while you have to stop and just be like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah,
and
to look back at the path and appreciate the path, you're like, wow, I can't believe this is happening.
But in your mind, it took so long. Right?
But two and a half years, Mitch, come on.
But it felt like forever. In my mind, it felt like forever. It felt like, oh, this is taking so long, and that's how most people are, right? But in reality, because I trusted myself, right? You don't know how many times I see them go through their database and they skip someone. But if I had skipped Matt, I wouldn't have got that listing. Uh-huh. It's not about them, it's who they know, right? And it came from service. The perception and the reality is his dad was in need. His dad needed to move out of that house. There was his wife, 30 years, died in that house. He needed to move on, right? So I was there for him. I helped. I got him a $20,000 over asking, and we moved on. By the way, the house with no toilet and no sinks, we got 20 over asking. Nice. And then I'll tell you the other thing is but now these people, you got to ask for that referral then, right? And you don't know how many times I've gone into a listing appointment and that house just sold 2 or 3 years ago, but they're talking to me and not the other agent.
Right.
And why? Because you didn't come from service. They felt like they were a transaction. They were just a number on a sheet. So just as big as Zillow gets, just as big as Redfin gets, no one leaves that experience feeling special.
Let's talk about that word service, man. You keep bringing it up. I know what you mean. I want to make sure it's clear to the people watching this what they understand service means in real estate. Because you're right, a lot of people in real estate agents consider their clients another number. Yay, another closed escrow. Yay, another closed escrow. And forget their client. Forget about them altogether.
But that's not a human, right? So on Keller Williams, our number 1 on the wall says win-win, right? So you need to remember who your fiduciary responsibility is, obviously, at all times, to your client. But you got to sometimes remind your client, there's a human being on the other end of this transaction.
Nice.
It's a win-win.
Nice.
Right? I'm not going to ruin my career with that agent, that title rep, that mortgage lender, because you're a jerk. Sometimes you got to tell your clients, you're being a jerk. That's a hard conversation to have. But it's the right conversation to have. And that's coming from service. You're honest. You tell the truth. People can smell disingenuous. They can see it. They can smell it. And you're just a number. Do you think anyone at Zillow cares that you spent 30 years in that house and that's where your wife died?
No, I can answer that for you. Absolutely not. But somebody who comes from service definitely would.
And I just had a woman. We're closing at the end of the month, right? And I called her. Nothing, she's, listing. The listing went well, double-ended it. Everything's great. She's happy. She's leaving the house that her grandparents owned. And I just called her just to say, how are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about, this is the house that your grandparents owned, and then you bought from them, and you raised your child in it. Now you're leaving. How do you feel? And we had a little cry together.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what you need to do? Write a letter. Write a letter to the new homeowner. Let them know what it meant to you. Put it out there into the universe. Right? There was no intentions behind that except to just come from service. On my way here, she'd given me a referral.
Really?
Right? That wasn't my intention. But now we have a connection.
Right. And you're right. That wasn't the intention, but now you have a connection. On that point, is there a difference between salesmanship and service?
Absolutely.
Can you share that with us?
Too many times, and it's this limiting belief, because this is how we grow up. Robert, you have to buy this cell phone because I work for this company, and you have to buy this cell phone, right? One of the greatest things about real estate is that you don't have to buy this cell phone. You want to buy this cell phone? I still get paid, right? And if you can wrap your mind around building a business around that. I was at my listing. I had more information on other houses for sale than I did on the one that I was there to sell. It's not about that. It's about the client, what the client wants. It's not what I want.
Boom. That's exactly what I wanted you to answer, not knowing you were going to answer that. That's important to me. I think a lot of real estate agents at first believe this is a numbers game as far as salesmanship. You got to sell 50. As long as you take care of your people, it all falls in place, is my approach.
Well, and that's Cody says that. And, being on a big team with someone who does a lot of transactions, Cody was very successful, and now he's got this big business, and he's running the expansion model that's coming out at Keller Williams, and he would talk, and he said, finances are a 6-month problem.
Finances are a 6-month problem.
And I sat there, and he was like, if you started working on your database today, you're going to be making money in 6 months.
Got it.
And I'm living proof.
Right.
Because it took me 5 months. Right? Now, I didn't get my first check till month 6 or 7. So when he says finances are a 6-month problem, so when someone comes to me and they're like, well, I'm keeping this crappy job and I'm only putting in part-time hours because I got to do this and I got to do that, it's a trap. It's a trap that you've bought into.
Yeah.
Right? You want to join Stein team, you got to quit your job.
You loving real estate now?
I love real estate.
Yeah.
And I love that I was able to come home, right? Like I said, I left Keller Williams, took my team, went to a broker that was, pay per transaction, and I was like, man, this isn't what you preached, Mitch. You're a fraud. I was looking at the bottom line instead of what I preached, right? And so I said to myself, there's no education here. There's no value. I'm not giving my team members what they need. This is good for me, but it's not good for them.
And all this started with California Realty Training.
Yeah.
With that call that you can attend a free class just to check it out. Yeah. And that took you to getting your license, to kicking some serious ass your first year, to creating a team, to now leading one of Keller Williams brokerages. In what area? Where you at? Where can people find you, Mitch?
Upland, Claremont, Laverne is where we're at. I am Coach Mitch Stein on pretty much everything I can put my name on. So that's where people can find me. Instagram, Facebook. You can see the video of me opening. It's still there on my page. And one of the things, going back to was that we were like, okay, we're gonna open this school. I'm like, well, I know who we're gonna use, right? We came to you guys, we're gonna open the school. But the building that we're putting the school in, we're actually coming from service, we're converting to a community education center. So we are going to have free, everything is gonna be free, right? So for example, and again, telling my agents, so we have an agent in our office, for example, who helps people fill out their college applications. So he's going to teach that class in that facility, right? We have an agent in our office that is a financial advisor. So she's going to teach that class. So we're practicing what we preach in this new office, right? We're building a community center, offering free education to help people live a better life,
nice,
including if they want to become a realtor.
And you're going to, of course, allow California Realty Training to be part of this growth.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the goal. We're trying to get Victor to come over. But, that's for us, this was the right decision, right? And it's the next growth in where I see my career, right?
I want to give you a couple last questions. One question is, man, I'm digging you. I'm digging the whole vibe, what you feel, you're genuine. What can a new agent expect to get from you as a leader and from your brokerage if they were to join your brokerage?
I'm gonna tell the truth, right? I think you got to remember how brokerages work, right? I describe it like a gym, right? They want to sign up as many people as they can, just sign up as many people as they can, and then here's the problem: a lot of people can't quit their job, right? A lot of people have to still work. Real estate is part-time until it takes off for them, right? Well, all their training is 8 to 5, right? You're at work, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, office is open. We do trainings at night.
That's important to know. Okay,
right?
Good. So you have night training? All right.
We do night training. If you join our office as a new member, we're gonna put you on a team. We're gonna put you on a team. We're gonna set you up. We're gonna teach you how to do the database. We're gonna show you. We are going to be a partner, right? The problem with sometimes with these brokerages is you've got good people and they've got everything they need, but there's not a system in place to get them into production, right? And for me, I can take someone from 0 to 60. I've done it multiple times, not only for myself, but for other people. But you got to come in and you got to be willing to trust the system. And where I have been brave in this industry, which you won't meet many brokers that'll do this, is I'll say no to some people.
What do you mean you'll say no?
You just don't got it.
Got it.
Right? Because if you don't buy the system, this isn't the right place for you. Right? If you don't want to build a life of service, you don't want to trust the system, you don't want to, then I might not be the right team leader for you. I'm going to introduce you to the right one, but I might not be it. And I'm just going to be honest. And because you got to be in this industry. I work with a gentleman named Derek Oy. He's does $500 million a year in transactions. He's one of the biggest agents in the Chino Hill. He's in Chino Hills. He actually does all of Lanier's new construction listings, right? Mm-hmm. And I sat down and I told him, and he said the most important connection you're going to have is with other real estate agents, right? And it's true. So I don't want to make enemies, but I also want to be honest with you, right? If you're not going to do the system and you're not going to show up, you're not going to have the success. And too many times you go to too many brokerages and they want to sign you up, right? They get your monthly fee, and they hope that half of them don't show up because they don't have the resources if everyone showed up. Just like a gym, right? You get your gym membership. If everyone that had a gym membership worked out every day, there would be a line to use every piece of equipment, right? And that's just not who I am. I want to work with people that want to succeed. And, I've only been in real estate, even on my personal team, I've only been in real estate, where we said now, less than 3 years, right? I have a woman on my team that's been in real estate 20 years. But she saw the value.
Right.
She in 20 years, no one showed her the system. 20 years, nobody told her, just come from service. Right? Just show up and just come from service. the woman that I was talking about that used to work for Weight Watchers that's tripled her income, right? Since October, she has done a lease, a land deal, mobile home, a VA. Whoa. Why? Because most real estate agents would say no to a mobile home. Right. They would say no to land. Right. They would say no to a VA. Right. In this market, a VA? Right. Are you joking? The only thing worse would be Cal Halfa. Right. At the end of the day, and I truly believe this, when I'm talking to an agent that I really want to work with, I tell them, Gary Keller Williams, they do 2 events a year. They do one called Mega Camp, where they interview mega agents, and they do one family reunion. You know you've made it when you end up on a stage at one of those events, right? And I believe this. I'll know I made it in this industry when I've coached somebody else to be on that stage.
I'm talking to myself today.
I know I can be there. That's no doubt in my mind, right? Call it cocky, call it secure, whatever. But if I can help somebody else, especially a single mom, if I can find a single mom and get her to that point,
beautiful.
That's all. That's my career, right? It isn't about how much money I have in the bank, right? And whenever somebody says that to me, I said, I live in a house that's 112 years old. Money's not my motivator. Right? And I think that's why I'm successful too, is because money's never anyone's motivator. Really, there's only a few amount of people, right? That's why when you sit down with the real estate agent, have you done any coaching lately? I'm sure you have, right? And you sit down with a new agent and you say, what do you want to do, right? They always say the same damn number. I want to make $100,000 a year, right? They all say the same number, and you just look at them and you're like, why? What does that represent? That's not going to motivate you. And I had one woman one time, she said, I gave up my career to marry my husband. He's an entertainment lawyer. And he pays me $66,000 a year in alimony. And I was like, oh, good for you. I go, but I guess I want to prove to myself that I'm more than a housewife. I want to prove to myself that if that ever went away, I don't need him. I said, your goal is $67,000 a year, not 100. Right. She's made it every year, nice. Both years, right? Because there's meaning behind it. Sure. There's action behind it. Sure. You need something, sure. Right? I bought my first house at 25. I was in sales then too. I used to sell trash cans. Nobody explained to me. I went on the penny saver. Do you remember the penny saver? Sure. We're dating ourselves.
I used to advertise the real estate business in the penny saver.
So sure. I went to rent a house and I was like, this is a pain in the ass. I'm 25, right? I'm like, this is a pain in the butt. I'm like, I go, how hard is it to buy a house? And I open the penny saver and we can get anyone approved. Ma'am, can you get anyone approved? Can you approve me? She calls me back, and remember, I'm 25. It was years ago. She goes, you're approved for $189. I was like, man. I'm gonna buy a house, right? And I find the house, and we're in escrow, and she sends me this letter that says I need to come up with $8,000, and I'm like, how's this zero down? And she's like, well, you've got the loan, and then you've got the your down payment, but you got to pay closing costs. Right. I'm like, well, first of all, any lender that doesn't do that, you got to fire now. I know, but I was like, I just went out and sold more trash cans, right? And sure enough, we closed. We didn't close in 30 days. We closed in 45 because I had to get the checks. But you know, that having a motivation, having some real tangible thing, that's what's going to drive you. Right. It's never about money. If you go into this business thinking it's about money, you're going to fail. Yep. You're never going to be happy. You might be successful. You might prove me wrong and be successful because you're like, money's important to me, but you're never going to be happy.
Let's finish off with this, Mitch. This has been fantastic. Listen, so my wife's My motto in real estate, along with my wife, because we ran a team ourselves many years ago, was simple, man. Our motto was real people before real estate. Talking about us. It's all about real people before real estate. That's what you get with us. It almost sums up what you've been talking about. Service. If you had a motto, Mitch Stein's had a motto on how he runs his business, how he treats others in the real estate world, what would it be? I'm just curious.
Well, my dad yelled at me because he tells me, you need a mission statement. You need a mission statement, and I don't have one. Yeah. You know, for me, it's just every day be true to who you are.
Good.
Right? Don't let anyone tell you that you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too ugly, you're too stupid. Don't let anyone tell you that. Because guess what? Someone's gonna love you and someone's gonna buy a house from you, right? And so every day I do 3 things, and I do it publicly because I like to hold myself accountable, right? I put 3 things on my Instagram. And it's so people see me practicing what I preach. What is one thing that I did yesterday that I should repeat? What is one thing I did yesterday that I shouldn't repeat? And what is one thing I didn't do yesterday I should do today? And I post it on my Instagram every day, every morning, right? Sometimes they're funny. The other day I had pizza and Oreos for dinner. Shouldn't do that, right? But most days, they just reset myself, right? And today's was yesterday, somebody made me question my truth. Someone made me question my truth. Someone made me question the way I do business.
Really?
And for a second, I said, maybe I'm doing it wrong. And you can't live like that. This is your truth. And if you're honest in who you are and you come from service and you genuinely want to help people every day, be true, be honest.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
Have, and work that database. Work that database. We're gonna make a song. We're gonna have a dance hit. Work that database.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, what's important is don't create that database, till after you get your license. Do it before you get your license.
Do it now. What business? I'm actually teaching this class, and was the first class we're gonna do at the new community center, is build your database. I'm advertising it to everyone. It's not just for real estate agents.
Right.
It's a free class. If you own a business, where's your database?
Right.
If you don't have a database, what are you doing?
And we know more people than we think we know. That's just the bottom line. Because you said, ask about the wife, ask about that guy. You're talking to this person, but they got a wife, or you're talking to this person, they got a husband.
You always know how long someone's going to last in real estate when they tell you that they don't know anyone or the leads are bad. Because everybody buys or sells one house in their life. And if they don't, they know somebody who bought or sold a house in their life. And most people sell 3. So if you're only going to be a real estate agent for a year, then yeah, you're not going to probably sell very many houses. But
are you looking for new agents at your office?
Always.
Yeah.
Talent, right? I want talent. I want people that are hungry, want to learn, and want to work. That's what I want.
We'll have your information down below so people can check that out. Where can they find you on Instagram? I'm going to start following you. Is that cool? That
Yeah.
Okay? Where can we find you on
So
Instagram?
I'm Coach Mitch Stein.
How do you spell Stein?
Stein.
Got it.
So Coach Mitch Stein. Remember the story. Water polo coach first. Coach Mitch Stein on Instagram, and also I have a Facebook page, and my website is also Coach Mitch Stein.
Yeah, you should be a real estate. You're beyond a real estate coach, man. You're a pro. This is good stuff. Thanks for coming in, Mitch.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to our venture together, California Realty Training and KW up in your area.
Correct.
Thanks for coming, man.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I.
Thank you.
These are the results. If I passed or failed my real estate exam. Congratulations! Oh! Congratulations! I think that means I passed. I told you I'd cry whether I passed or not. Yay! Super excited. Passed my first time. That's awesome. Congrats. It felt really good.